Hey there, Dart nerds, pub league philosophers, tungsten technicians. Welcome back to Dart Brain, the podcast where your bullseye might be small, but your psychological baggage is oversized, and you're probably going to need to pay a bag fee. Today's episode is a big one, not just in content, but in impact. If this is your first time listening, welcome. You've landed on what might be the most important Dart Brain episode to date. If you've been following along from the start, then you know we've been slowly assembling a mental toolkit for darts players, piece by piece, idea by idea. But today we open the whole toolbox. This episode is the core of the Dart Brain model, the part that lets you turn theory into action. We're diving into 5 of the 10 Gremlin Guardian pairings that make up your mental game. The other 5 pairings will be discussed in the next episode. In today's episode, we'll discuss self-doubt versus confidence, negative versus positive self-talk, negative versus positive imagery, pessimism versus optimism, and emotions versus regulation. Each pair is a battle between a psychological villain, that's your gremlin, and a psychological ally, that's your guardian. And just like darts, the outcome of the match depends on which side you feed. Here's a quick recap of the Dart Brain model in case your focus got eaten by a gremlin. The Dart Brain model is built around one central element: focus. That's the bullseye of your mental game. Everything, and I mean everything, either supports your focus or destroys it. When your focus expands, you're in the zone. Smooth, calm, confident. You don't have to think, you just throw. But when your focus collapses, you go on tilt. That's when the chimp brain hijacks the controls. Doubt creeps in, your emotions spike, your rhythm shatters, and you can't fix it by yelling at yourself to relax. Because once you're fully on tilt, reason is off the table. So prevention is the key. And that brings us to the 2 forces inside your Dart Brain. On one side, you've got your gremlins, negative psychological forces that shrink your focus and mess with your game. On the other side are your guardians, positive forces that strengthen your focus and keep your mental game stable under pressure. That's what this episode is about. 5 Gremlin Guardian pairings that define your mental performance. Each pair is a lens, a way of spotting patterns in your own game, a way of deciding where to focus your mental training. You don't have to guess where to start. This episode will help you find your entry point. Each pairing in this and the following episode will be quick and precise and include a brief description of tools that you can start using today. But don't worry, as this podcast continues, we'll have entire episodes on each of the Gremlin Guardian pairings so that you can continue to develop your skills. And this is important. You don't need to fix all your gremlins in one attack. You can take them down one at a time. After listening to this episode, you might have 10,000 ideas in your head about things you want to work on. But ask yourself this question: if everything else about my game remained the same, what 1 or 2 mental changes would have the biggest impact? Focusing on too many things at once will mess with your game. Your brain will be too busy. Like I've said before, this process takes time, effort, and commitment. So commit to improving your mental game in 1 or 2 ways, not 47. We'll go through each of the 5 pairs one by one. We'll explain what they are, how they show up in darts, and what you can do about them. Expect some examples, a few laughs, and maybe a few uncomfortable moments when you realize, oh no, that's me. Or, Yoko, oh no, that's me, if your name is Michael Katana. Now, one quick ask before we dive in. I've been thinking about creating a Dart Brain workbook, a physical or maybe digital guide that you can use to identify patterns, track your progress, and build your own mental training plan. But before I go full mad scientist on this thing, I want to know, would you use a workbook? Let me know in the comments on the Dart Brain Facebook post for this episode. If there's enough interest, I'll make it happen. All right, deep breath, focus up. Let's take the next step in mastering your mental game, because understanding your gremlins and guardians, that's how you stop surviving matches and start commanding them. Pairing 1, self-doubt versus confidence. The main event bout of your mental game. Let's kick things off with the heavyweight championship of the Dart Brain psyche. In one corner, the most dangerous, most slippery, most quietly destructive gremlin of them all, self-doubt. And in the other corner, the most powerful, most stabilizing, most zone-unlocking guardian, confidence. This isn't just any Gremlin Guardian battle. This is the big one. If self-doubt is in control, the rest of your mental game becomes a house of cards. And if confidence is active, everything gets easier. Your thoughts calm down, your body flows, your focus expands, you stop questioning yourself and start executing. Let's dig into why. Self-doubt is sneaky. It doesn't always yell. It whispers. It taps on your shoulder just before you throw and says, "You sure about this?" It second guesses your aim, your grip, your worth. It's the one that makes you hesitate mid-throw, question your setup, and wonder why you even play this game. Self-doubt doesn't need evidence. It creates its own. One missed double becomes, "I always miss." One bad match becomes, "I'm not good enough." It turns short-term performance into long-term identity, which doesn't make any sense at all. And worse, it disguises itself as humility, caution, or realism. But it's not realistic. It's corrosive. Self-doubt shrinks your focus from the bullseye to your insecurities. It hijacks your attention and turns it inward, away from the board and toward your flaws. That's how it wins, not by shouting, but by distracting. And once self-doubt is active, your other gremlins, negative self-talk, pessimism, fatigue, start to pile on. It's the gateway gremlin. Now let's meet your champion, confidence. But let's be clear, confidence isn't ego. It's not walking around puffed up like a Premier League striker after a lucky bounce. Confidence is grounded, quiet, anchored. Confidence is the steady belief that you can do what you've trained to do, even under pressure. It's not fake bravado. It's built from repetition, preparation, and the decision to trust yourself when it matters most. In fact, confidence is the only guardian that improves the performance of all the others. A confident player focuses better, regulates emotion better, rebounds from adversity faster. Confidence doesn't guarantee success, but it gives you access to your actual level of ability. Without it, your skill is buried under second guessing. You might be physically capable of hitting that double, but if confidence isn't active, you won't throw like you are. Confidence has been a central theme in sports psychology for decades. Vieli's model of sports confidence outlines 3 pillars of confidence. 1. Preparation, physical and mental training. 2. Past experiences, your successes and failures. And 3. Self-preparation, how you carry yourself, think, and speak. When these are solid, confidence becomes your default state. When they're shaky, self-doubt slips in through the cracks. And here's where it gets real. Research shows that confidence is more predictive of performance than actual ability. Why? Because performance under pressure depends less on what you know and more on how freely you can access it under stress. Confidence opens the tap. Self-doubt closes it. You can tell if confidence or self-doubt is in control by conducting a self-check. A self-check is a powerful tool because it's technical and activates your professor, putting your logical, rational brain in command. You might be battling self-doubt if you apologize for your performance while playing, say things like, "I'm just not a pressure player," constantly change your mechanics mid-match, or feel the need to justify your presence at higher levels. Conversely, you're probably aligned with confidence if you focus on the process, not just outcomes, keep your routines consistent even when under pressure, bounce back quickly from mistakes, and believe you belong in the room, even on your off days. You've probably experienced some things from both lists. That's because confidence isn't invincible, and even confident players have moments of self-doubt. The difference between how elite players and novice players handle confidence is often found in how quickly they can restore their confidence when it takes a hit. So here are some tools you can use to start building or rebuilding your confidence. 1. Reframing self-talk. Turn "I always miss this double" into "I've hit this double before and I can hit it again." Or "I've hit this double 1,000 times. Right now is no difference." 2. Stand like you believe it. Adopt power postures or ready body language. Your body influences your brain, which we covered in episode 3. Practice in pressure. Simulate real match conditions. Create mini challenges that require resilience. Train confidence by proving to yourself that you can show up under pressure. 4. Talk to loved ones before competition. Confidence also comes from knowing that your self-worth isn't attached to the game of darts and whether you win or lose. A quick way to remind yourself of this is to connect with family and friends before competition. Before he passed away, I used to call my Uncle Daryl before matches when I wasn't feeling too confident. He always had a way to make me feel great about myself and remind me that life wasn't just about darts. Finding the right person or people that make you feel great is an awesome way to build your confidence before an event. And 5, track past wins. For me, this is one of the most powerful tools I have. Keep a confidence log. In the self-help industry, this technique is often referred to as the cookie jar, so it has applications even beyond darts. Every time you achieve something that makes you feel confident, something that you're proud of, put it in your cookie jar, which can just be a list written down in a notebook. It could be throwing your first 180, taking out a bull finish for the first time, good matches, comeback legs, or beating a player you've never beaten before. Personally, I have multiple cookie jars because they're such a powerful tool and I've got a bit of a sweet tooth. Since I started playing, I've kept a log of every event I've won. I used to keep track of all my top 8 finishes, then it became top 4, and now it's only wins. My approach changed, but the impact is the same. It's a reminder that I can win, and that I have won, and that I will win again. I also have an outs record, where I'm keeping track of all the finishes I've taken out from 99 to 170. I'm still missing 18 of the 65 outs, but I'm confident I'll get there. These are records I keep for myself, something that inspires me and reminds me that my efforts haven't been for naught. Confidence thrives on memory, so fill up your cookie jar and review it before tournaments or league night. An important note about confidence. Confidence rises and falls based on your preparation and performance. That means you are likely to feel more confident when you're playing well and likely to feel more self-doubt when you're playing poorly. But here's the thing. While confidence may bounce around like a yo-yo, your skill level doesn't. Playing a bad match doesn't mean your skill level has deteriorated, and it can be incredibly helpful after a match to remind yourself that your skill is unchanged and you can turn it around in a heartbeat. I've played 2 tournaments recently where my initial knockout rounds were terrible. My averages were well below what I expect. But I didn't let it get to me. I stayed on the board, kept working on cleaning up my throw, and in both cases, I went on to make the final after turning my game around in the later rounds. Don't let one bad shot, leg, or match convince you that you're not capable. Even the pros throw bad legs. Self-doubt is the gremlin that starts the party. If left unchecked, it invites all its friends. But confidence is the bouncer. It decides who gets in and who stays out. You don't need to eliminate self-doubt forever. That's unrealistic. You just need to turn down its volume and crank up your confidence loud enough that you can hear it over the noise. So next time you're standing at the hockey and that little voice asks you, "Are you sure you can hit this?" Just let confidence answer, "Yes, I've done it before and I'm ready to do it again." Pairing 2, negative versus positive self-talk. Let's talk about the voice in your head. No, not the chimp for a change. I mean the internal commentator that narrates your every move, especially when you're throwing poorly. The one that says things like, "Here we go again," or "Of course you missed," or "You absolute melon." Welcome to the world of self-talk, one of the most direct and powerful tools in your mental game. It's also one of the most undertrained. Negative self-talk is a professional hater. It's judgmental, sarcastic, and has the emotional maturity of a pub heckler with a losing bet. And it lives rent-free in your brain. It usually kicks in after a miss, but the best ones start before you even throw. "You never hit this double. You're going to choke again. Why are you even playing this tournament? I could have stayed home and watched Netflix instead of embarrassing myself." Negative self-talk doesn't care if it's true. Its job is to undermine your belief, amplify your mistakes, and shrink your focus until the only thing you can see is what's going wrong. It's also deeply convincing because it sounds just like you, but it's not. It's a gremlin with a megaphone and an attitude problem. Now, let's talk about positive self-talk. But let's not confuse it with the kind of forced affirmations that are probably hanging on posters in your workplace. This isn't about chanting, "I'm a magical unicorn of success" between legs, unless you're Daryl Walsh, of course. Positive self-talk is practical. It's instructional. It's a mental coach that tells you what to do, how to do it, and how to refocus when things go sideways. While negative self-talk dwells on failure, positive self-talk focuses on solutions. Smooth follow-through. Stick to the routine. Next start. Let's go. It helps regulate emotions, reinforce confidence, and guide attention, especially under pressure. And research backs this up in a big way. According to researchers, self-talk influences performance by affecting 3 key areas. 1, cognition, what you focus on. 2, motivation, your willingness to persist. And 3, emotion, your arousal and control. Athletes who train their self-talk perform better, recover faster from errors, and stay mentally engaged longer. Put simply, your internal voice becomes your external result. So if you're constantly telling yourself, "Don't mess up," your brain is locked on messing up. You're giving your subconscious a target, just the wrong one. Let's do a self-check. You're probably battling negative self-talk if you mutter insults under your breath after bad throws. Idiot, useless, classic me. You start mentally spiraling after one bad visit, or you use sarcasm to avoid feeling disappointment. You're aligned with positive self-talk if you use cue words before each throw, you reset quickly after mistakes, and you speak to yourself like a supportive coach, not an angry subreddit. Here are some tools you can use to rewire that internal dialogue. 1. Use do language instead of don't language. Here's an example. Don't miss high becomes aim for the middle of the single bed. Negative phrasing activates avoidance systems. Do language creates clear motor instructions. 2. Pre-throw cue phrases. Choose 1 to 3 short phrases that remind you of your best mechanics. Smooth, loose hand, hit it. Say it, mentally or aloud, before each throw to program your brain. 3. Name your inner coach. Give your positive voice a name or persona. It could be Calm Kevin, Focus Fiona, Dart Dad, the Professor. Naming it creates distance from your critical inner monologue and gives you a character to embody when you need to turn things around. And 4. Journal the best self-talk moments. After practice or matches, jot down self-talk that helped you perform. Build a playlist of greatest hits you can come back to. Self-talk is a habit. Positive or negative, what you say to yourself is almost certainly consistent. Make it consistently positive. Here's the deal. Your brain is always talking. You don't get to turn it off. But you do get to decide who holds the mic. You either tell your brain what to think about, or it'll make the decision for you. Negative self-talk will always have a line ready. It's fast, it's sharp, and deeply unhelpful. But positive self-talk? It's like a great doubles partner. Calm, reliable, and there to remind you you can hit this next one. You don't need to be endlessly optimistic either. This isn't a pump-you-up motivational speech. They tend to be too emotional anyways. You just need to be constructive. Your darts respond to direction, not discouragement. So the next time you hear your voice saying, "You always mess this up," respond with, "Not today." Smooth, follow through, let's go. Because if you're going to listen to anyone in your head, it might as well be someone who wants you to win. Pairing 3, negative versus positive imagery. Your mental movie is either an Oscar winner or a horror film. Let me ask you something. When you step up to the hockey and close your eyes for a split second, what do you see? Do you picture a smooth throw, a dart floating effortlessly into the double you need? Or do you see the dart clank off the wire, drop to the floor, and bounce into the pub carpet like it's auditioning for a job in disappointment? Welcome to the world of imagery. The mental movies your brain plays before, during, and after every throw. And like self-talk, imagery can either build your performance or absolutely sabotage it. Negative imagery is the brain's equivalent to a jump scare. It doesn't just predict failure, it rehearses it. It plays in full HD, sharp focus, dramatic angles, instant replays of every bounce out and missed double you've ever thrown, and it loops again and again and again. You might not even realize it's happening. Maybe you stare at the double 16 and think, "Don't pull it inside like last time." And before your body moves, your brain cues up the exact image of that miss. Congratulations, your gremlin just gave your motor cortex a free training rep in failure. Have you ever missed an important double and then replayed that miss over and over again? Told everyone how you lost, but how you had 5 darts of the double to win it in the 4th leg and 2 more darts in the 5th leg? What are you imagining? You're imagining missing. In fact, you're rehearsing missing over and over and over. Negative imagery isn't subtle. It's loaded with emotion, fear, shame, frustration. It narrows your focus onto what could go wrong, then primes your body to live it out. Now, let's flip the reel. Positive imagery is mental rehearsal for success. It's a clear, confident, controlled preview of what you want to happen. And it's not fantasy. It's a legit performance enhancer. When you use positive imagery, you're running the play before the play. You see the dart fly straight, you feel the release point, you hear the thunk as it hits the target. You walk through the whole routine in your mind, the stance, the throw, the result. Here's the wild part. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagined actions and real actions. That's right. If you do it vividly enough, it lights up many of the same motor pathways as actually throwing a dart. If you've ever seen a player throw a phantom dart before they approach the line, they're doing exactly this. They're putting the positive image in their mind of the exact performance they want to execute. Think of it as practice without fatigue. Your guardian is giving your body a preview of success and setting up your nervous system to follow through. Imagery has been studied extensively in sports psychology. One key paper from 2008 showed that mental imagery activates many of the same brain areas involved in motor control, including the premotor cortex, supplementary motor area, and even the muscles involved in the actual movement. Yes, tiny muscle twitches can occur during imagery. Ever thrown a dart in your sleep? It'll piss your spouse off when you hit them in the face, but hopefully you're dreaming of winning matches. I sometimes fall asleep by mentally trying to take out every finish from 170 down. It's like counting sheep, but for dart players. I don't think I've ever made it out of the hundreds. There's even evidence from Soviet-era sports scientists, those terrifyingly efficient masterminds of performance, who trained athletes exclusively using imagery when physical training wasn't possible. The results? Improved outcomes across strength, precision, and execution. Hard to believe, right? No performance whatsoever. Only imagining improves performance. In darts, this matters because every throw is a repeatable motor pattern, and imagery strengthens that pattern without the risk of physical fatigue or burnout. Negative imagery might be running your show if you pre-play failure outcomes. Don't go low again. Hello, double 19. You replay past mistakes on loop. You feel tense before throws even in practice. You visualize your opponent succeeding and yourself failing. Positive imagery is active when you see your throw landing perfectly before it happens, you run mental rehearsals before matches, you mentally rehearse pre-shot routines or focus cues, and you feel more calm and prepared even without recent practice. So let's get practical. Here's how to shift your mental cinema to the right channel. 1. Daily imagery reps. Before practice or matches, spend 2 to 3 minutes with your eyes closed. Visualize your full routine. See the dart, hit the target, hear the sound, feel the rhythm. The more sensory rich, the better. 2. Correct and replay. If a throw goes poorly, don't just replay the failure. Pause, close your eyes, run the scene correctly. You're training your body to move toward the image you hold. 3. Anchor the image. Pair your imagery with a breath or cue word, like smooth. That anchors the mental image to the physical rhythm. And 4. Use video to build imagery. Watch a clip of yourself throwing well. Then, close your eyes and replay it internally. You're programming success with real evidence. You're already using imagery. Every time you anticipate a miss, you're practicing it. Every time you relive a bounce out, you're reinforcing it. So why not flip the script? Positive imagery isn't about pretending you're perfect. It's about training your brain to focus on what works, to see the shot before it happens, to create internal alignment before external execution. Your brain is always making movies. Just make sure they're the kind that end with you hitting the double and doing a little strut back from the Aki like a 9-year-old that just got a free ice cream cone. Kids, don't take candy from strangers. Pairing 4, pessimism versus optimism. Your brain is making predictions. Make sure they're not doom forecasts. Let's be honest. Darts is a game of fine margins and questionable coping mechanisms, and few things collapse your focus faster than expecting things to go wrong before they even start. This one's not about unicorn-level positivity or pretending that missing a double by a foot was just part of the plan. This is about your mental predictions, the ones you make automatically, because what you expect to happen shapes what actually happens. Pessimism is the snarky voice that pipes up before the dart even leaves your hands. You're going to miss. This is where it falls apart. Well, you had a good run. You can probably already see how pessimism and negative self-talk work together. Pessimism isn't dramatic. It's insidious. It sounds like realism. It feels like wisdom. I'm just being honest with myself. But there's a difference between being realistic and being resigned. Pessimism primes your brain to focus on failure. It pulls your attention towards everything that could go wrong, and in doing so, narrows your focus, increases your tension, and activates your gremlins. It's also sticky. Once pessimism settles in, every missed dart becomes confirmation. It builds the case against you, then sits back with the popcorn and says, "Told you so." Now, before you roll your eyes, let's define optimism properly. Optimism is not delusion. It's not pretending everything's fine when it's clearly falling apart. It's the habit of looking for solutions instead of spiraling into despair. It's choosing to frame challenges as temporary, specific, and workable rather than permanent, personal, and catastrophic. Optimism doesn't ignore mistakes. It just doesn't build a personality around them. When your optimism guardian is active, you still miss. You still get frustrated, but you say things like, "Okay, next one." I've hit this before. Let's stay in it. You stay available for success instead of pre-booking a front row seat to your own collapse. This Gremlin Guardian pair is grounded in explanatory style theory, which states that how you explain setbacks to yourself determines your level of resilience, which is another one of your guardians. Pessimists explain failure as permanent, I'll never hit that double, personal, I always screw this up, and pervasive, nothing ever goes right for me. Optimists, on the other hand, frame it as temporary, that was just one throw. Impersonal, that wasn't my best setup. And specific, my focus slipped that turn. Why does this matter? Because your brain listens. The way you interpret misses and mistakes affects your emotional state, your motivation, and your confidence. If your inner voice writes you off after a single bad visit, your performance will follow the script. Your pessimism gremlin may be steering the ship if you say things like, "Here we go again," after one missed dart. You expect to lose before the match starts. You mentally check out as soon as things go sideways, and you treat every mistake as evidence of personal failure. Your optimism guardian is working if you reframe mistakes and keep competing, you talk to yourself in a problem-solving tone, you bounce back within the same leg or set, you carry hope into tight matches even when behind. Let's turn those storm clouds into something a little more playable. 1. Reframe your inner dialogue. After a miss, catch the first thought. Was it predictive of doom? If so, pause and replace it with a neutral or constructive version. That was just one dart. Let's go again. Still my throw, still my leg. 2. Name the gremlin. Externalize the pessimist. Give it a name. There's negative Nigel again, predicting disaster. Or that's my chimp getting angry he's out of bananas. The more distance you create, the less power it holds. 3. Practice temporary explanations. Write down a recent failure. Now, rewrite the explanation using the optimistic style. That was temporary. It was a bad day, not a bad career. It's fixable. And 4, use yet language. Pessimism says, I can't hit this. Optimism says, I haven't hit this yet. It's one word, but it completely shifts the timeline. One is final, the other is open. When I'm playing with newer or less experienced players, I love to set them up on 170. Why? Because they'll never catch the big fish if they don't have chances. They'll also never hit it if they don't tell themselves they can. I try to give them that positive reinforcement. Pessimism loves darts because it's a game where failure happens constantly. How many of your darts actually hit your preferred triple? It's a small percentage. Even the best players miss more than they hit. But your mindset about those misses, that's where the game really lives. Optimism doesn't mean you'll win every leg, but it does mean you'll stay in the leg enough to compete. It means you'll keep throwing with intention, even when the scoreboard isn't in your favor, because you're never more than 9 darts away from winning a leg. And that's the difference between falling behind and falling apart. So the next time you hear yourself say, "Of course I missed, I always do," stop, take a deep breath, and reply, "Nah, that was just one dart. I'm still in this." Because optimism isn't naive, it's tactical. Pairing 5, emotions versus regulation. The chimp's meltdown and the magic of staying cool. Let me paint you a picture. You miss a big double. You clench your teeth. You mutter something under your breath that rhymes with duck. Your heart rate spikes. Your next throw, it's not just rushed, it's full-on rage release. No focus, no touch, just fury. Congratulations, your chimp brain just took the wheel, and your focus has officially left the building. Welcome to your 5th Gremlin Guardian matchup, emotions versus regulation. This one's about emotional control, or lack thereof, and how the ability to feel without falling apart might just be the greatest competitive weapon. Now let's be clear. Emotions themselves aren't the enemy. They're natural. They're informational. You can't get rid of them. They tell you what matters. The problem is when they go full gremlin, unchecked, unfiltered, and totally in charge. Unregulated emotions spike your adrenaline, hijack your breathing, distort your focus, and shatter your routine. That little miss on double 10 suddenly feels like a full-on existential crisis. You're not just annoyed, you're in full chimp meltdown mode. And once the chimp's driving, good luck taking him down. The gremlin form of emotion isn't just feeling something, it's being ruled by that feeling. It's when a leg of darts becomes a referendum on your worth as a human being. Regulation is what keeps the chimp in the cage, or at least safely buckled into the back seat with a juice box and a podcast. Emotional regulation is the ability to notice your feelings without being consumed by them. It's staying aware without losing control. It's the guardian that lets you respond instead of react. When your regulation guardian is active, you still feel frustration, nerves, anger, but they don't own you. You breathe through them, you make a decision, you throw anyway, clean, deliberate, composed. In short, regulation is not about suppressing emotion, it's about channeling it. Psychologist James Gross developed a model of emotional regulation that breaks it into two major strategies. One is reprisal, changing how you interpret the situation, such as, this isn't a disaster, it's a challenge, I can respond. Or, I'm not blowing it, I'm just learning to play under pressure. You can probably see again how self-talk and optimism play a role here. And two, response modulation, changing how you physically react. Breathing, posture resets, facial relaxation, anything to downshift your arousal state and get back to neutral. Research shows that athletes who regulate their emotions well perform better under pressure, recover faster after mistakes, and experience lower overall performance anxiety. In other words, feeling things is fine, flooding yourself with emotions is not. You might be battling your emotion gremlin if you have emotional outbursts mid-match, you throw harder or faster after a miss, you physically pace, slam your darts, or visibly slump, you stop thinking tactically and just react. On the other hand, you're working with the regulation guardian if you can name what you're feeling and stay composed, you pause or breathe after a bad visit, you respond to pressure with routines instead of panic, and you stay present in the match even when behind. Let's build some chimp-proof fencing for your emotional regulation. 1. 3-breath reset. After any emotional spike, a missed double, a bounce out, a bad score, take 3 controlled breaths before your next setup. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Tell your nervous system it's not in danger. 2. Emotional rating scale. Before and during a match, rate your emotional state from 1 ice cold to 10 volcano. Aim to stay in the 4 to 6 range, alert but calm. Awareness alone increases regulation. 3. Reprisal mantras. Prepare 1 or 2 calming phrases for moments of tilt. Breathe, reset, still in this. That was one visit, not the whole match. Personally, I use something called a systems check that we'll cover in more detail in a future episode. But the basic approach is to slow down and consciously check that I'm doing all the things in my routine that help me be successful. Because when I'm emotionally on tilt, I'm far more likely to skip steps, do them too quickly, do them poorly, and anything like that. This activates the professor brain and prevents me from doing things I wouldn't normally do if I weren't emotionally charged. And 4, chimp management reminder. Remember, you can't reason with a chimp mid-tantrum. Your job is to stop it from taking over in the first place. That means catching the emotions early and responding with intention. Darts is a mental game, disguised as a throwing contest, and nowhere is that more obvious than when emotions take over. You can be the most technically sound player in the world, but if a missed double sends you into a psychological tailspin, you're not playing the same game anymore. You're playing survival, and gremlins thrive in survival mode. But with practice, you can build the muscle of regulation. You can get angry without imploding. You can feel fear without flinching. You can ride the waves instead of being dragged under them. Because remember, top players still feel emotions. They've just trained their body and mind to react with top performance when emotions kick in. Regulation isn't about being a robot. It's about being a professional. And that starts with a breath and a pause, and the choice to throw the next dart like the match just started. All right, let's hit the recap bullseye. Today, you met 5 of the most powerful forces inside your brain, each pair a tug of war between sabotage and support. Self-doubt versus confidence, the heavyweight matchup. Self-doubt whispers lies, confidence counters with calm truth. Negative versus positive self-talk. You are always coaching yourself. The question is, are you a bully or a builder? Negative versus positive imagery. Your brain's movie projector is always running. Point it towards the outcome you want, not the one you fear. Pessimism versus optimism. How you explain your mistakes matters. Are they fatal flaws or just a bad lag on a good day? And emotions versus regulation. The chimp will show up. Your job is to keep him out of the driver's seat. These 5 pairs form the psychological foundation of your performance. And here's the kicker. You don't have to tackle them all at once. You just have to find the one that's most active in your game right now and start there. Your gremlins might be loud, but your guardians are always ready to respond if you know how to activate them. Breathe deep, focus up, and maybe tell your self-doubt it can take the night off. Your guardians have it from here. We've got 5 more powerful pairings to explore, and they're coming in the next episode. So if you're thinking, hey, what about stress? What about distractions? What about commitment? Don't worry, the rest of the gang's arriving soon. So until then, take a breath, trust your throw, and for the love of tungsten, don't let the monkey drive the bus. This has been Dart Brain. I'm Clint Clarkson. Until next time, stay focused, throw with purpose, and train your Dart Brain.